Okay, roll call. Okay, Alicia Novak,
Here.
Michelle Blythe,
Scared me. Here.
Jen Schweddy,
Present.
Yvonne Gallardo Van Ornum,
I'm here too.
Rob Toyer,
Here.
Heather Logan.
Present.
Mayor Vanny, I move for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, motion carries. Okay, we'll start off our workshop tonight with a special guest with the presentation, the AHA Program Manager, Chris Collier, Housing Authority of Snohomish County.
Okay. All right. Let's
You got there just in time?
Okay, I got it. I can take
Got
it.
it? Okay, there you go.
All right. Okay. You want me to stand here? Is this microphone coming through okay?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if this is connected. It is. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me here. Sorry, I just kind of breezed in at the last second. I'm here. I'm going to try and give a quick 20-minute presentation or so on just kind of the information germane to housing in the city of Arlington and Snohomish County as a whole. Feel free to interrupt with any questions or however the council prefers to take presentations and questions and so on and so forth. I am the Program Manager for the Alliance for Housing Affordability. That includes the City of Arlington. I'm also the Government Relations Director for the Housing Authority of Snohomish County. A quick preview of what I'm going to cover. I'm going to examine the ownership housing situation in North Snohomish County and Arlington specifically, comparing against household and occupational wages, and then housing production. So how many housing units are we producing in the county and in Arlington? And that will hopefully lead into the core discussion of, or support the core discussion of regional housing scarcity that is affecting Arlington as a part of the region. Then I'll repeat this same analysis for rental production and rental rates, local rents in the city of Arlington, examining the number of county households that qualify for services, which I'll explain in a minute. And then I'll look at regional issue drivers. Wages and also people's literal driving behavior and transportation patterns, also Arlington. I'm going to try and squish that all into 20 minutes or so. Is that right? I've got about 20 minutes. So if I take too long, get the hook. So a really quick summary of Snohomish County. Where do we start with housing and housing affordability? The foundational nature of this is how many housing units were built and how many households were created in the same year. That concept is displayed here. In 2003, we built 1,106 more housing units to rent or to own in Snohomish County than new households were created in that same time. So we built 1,106 surplus housing units across the entirety of the county, including the city of Arlington. These housing units that are surplus don't get pushed over in 2004. They add up into a surplus. So let's start counting at 0 in the year 2000. You've got to start somewhere. And look at what our surplus is for the entirety of Snohomish County. So we have a total surplus of 3,000 housing units in 2003 by year end, but that surplus is wiped out by 2019 because we have a huge number of new households coming to Snohomish County starting in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. We've rebounded since then, but as I'll show in a couple slides, this is almost entirely apartment construction in Snohomish County, and Arlington, of course, as you all know, being no exception. So back to ownership for a bit though, what does this do to price? Economics 101 says when you're in a period of scarcity, when people are competing for a good, they're competing financially. And so in this case, it means price is going to go up. So this brown line is the median sale price. The median sale price for a single family detached home only in all of Snohomish County, again, including Arlington. So I'm taking the county perspective and then I'll get to the city specific in just a second. So this is the sale price. The median sale price adjusted for inflation for a single family detached home in Snohomish County has risen by almost $500,000 in the last 25 years. Now, most of us aren't purchasing our home with all cash. We don't work for Amazon. As a programmer, you can work for Amazon and not make that much money. So let's look at what you need to get a bank loan. Thanks for turning down the lights. A bank loan for this house. So let's put 10% down on this median house, pay for a 30-year term, and no more than 33% of our household income can go to our mortgage debt. So with those calculations and a few other things, This yellow line is actually the you must be this tall to ride line to buy the median house in Snohomish County. It went from $115,000 adjusted for inflation to $197,000 at year-end 2024. That's a lot. The reason that it jumped so much in 2021 is because interest rates went from 2 to 7% in the span of almost 1 year. So that huge jump in yellow recently is entirely interest rate driven. And even as prices have come down, interest rates stay high. And so that required income figure continues to rise. So if this line says this is how tall you must be to ride, how tall are we? What's the financial strength of Snohomish County households? Again, adjusted for inflation, is not high enough. This is the median household income. That's a household size of 1, all the way up to however many people in your household. And the median household income is just not enough to play in home ownership for single family homes. If you're not owning, you might be looking at townhomes or condos. That's a largely similar story. The line's just a little bit lower, or looking at rent. And so just laying two charts on top of each other, this is what rent has done in Snohomish County in this time frame. Again, adjusted for inflation, this is the average rent for a studio to a 3-bedroom apartment across all of Snohomish County. You see that rents have come down, which is probably why, or because we have a surplus in the background, right? That blue bar is now higher. And so apartment rents, because they're almost exclusively apartments being built, rents are starting to come down a little bit. So, my economics 101 professor frustratingly was right. And I did deserve the grade that I got in that class. So let's look at city specific. What does it look like to own in North Snohomish County? So on the table here, you see the single family residential price on top and townhomes and condos combined on the bottom. So for Snohomish County, this is for 2025. The previous chart ended in 24. I wanted to give contiguous years. This is 2025, so this is a partial look. This is the sale price in up to August of this year, City of Everett, and then over the City of Everett, you see the required income given the same loan terms, 10% down, 30-year term, 33% debt to income. Lake Stevens, City of Marysville, Granite Falls, Arlington, Stanwood, and not to forget Darrington in the insert. And so this is a lot, and I'd be happy to send a PDF of this presentation to you for review. But so pick your favorite city, Arlington, of course, or your least favorite city, somebody else. And you can look at who can afford to live there. It's different, right? City by city, it's different. Affordability and the ability to own is different across the county. And so instead of how many people can and can't afford it, let's instead change the script a little bit and think about who makes a good neighbor. If your neighbor's house, if you own a house, goes up for sale, and you're thinking, who's going to buy that? And would they make a good neighbor? Right? What occupation do I want to live next to me? We can start to see who can and can't be your neighbor. So, 25th percentile and 50th percentile income for Seattle Metro occupations. I'm looking at the Seattle Metro, Snohomish, King, and Pierce County all together. Because if you work in Seattle, you can't afford to live there, you're going to start looking north or south, probably, for a place to live. Pharmacists. In the Seattle Metro, this is the 25th percentile, kind of beginning career wage and mid-career wage for a pharmacist. Not a pharmacist tech. This is the pharmacist that runs the pharmacy is making between $149 to $165 a year. And they're not able to buy a house with that income in Lake Stevens. That's the median house, median salary. Construction managers, that's a good job. Not able to afford to live in Arlington in the middle of their career. Paramedics, like mom, dad, I'm a paramedic. Like that's a great job. You should be afforded a place to live. That's a hard and honorable, decent job. But the reality is that home ownership of a single family home is out of reach for all places except Darrington. You might be able to swing a townhome or a condo, but there's not that many of them. Or city transit and bus drivers are unable to buy anything on a single income in Snohomish County. Southwest Snohomish County is considerably worse. We have 5 cities that are over $1 million median sale price for single family homes. So again, I'm happy to send this out as a PDF so you can dig into this. This is a selection of 4 occupations from over 700 that the Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks. I'm full of extra superfluous information, just ask. Amy knows. So declining affordable home ownership, back to the county perspective, this is all the homes that sold in Snohomish County. Single family, townhome, condo, or mobile home, manufactured home, all together by price band. Again, adjusted for inflation, this is all the homes in Snohomish County that sold for under $100,000 adjusted for inflation. Not a whole lot. It's never been common to buy a house for under 100 grand in Snohomish County. 1 to 200,000, 2 to 300. I'll save time by not reading all these. You can see them on the bottom. Each band is another $100,000. And you're starting to see the trend of Snohomish County emerge, where blue, yellow, gray make up a huge portion on the left in the year 2000 and now are almost nothing in 2024. That's declining ownership of options in Snohomish County. So now we're at 7 to 800,000, 8 to 900, 900,000 to $1 million, and then all home sales for over $1 million in red on top. So this shows one picture, which is the variety of the number of homes that have sold in Snohomish County, regardless of price, right? We're at a low point in Snohomish County's history, almost comparable to the depths of the recession in 2009 and 10. But so then let's look at each year's proportionality. Like what percent of homes in 2024 sold for over $1 million? My little piece of abstract art in the background is the answer to that question. It is 20%. This gradient is, taking 100% and breaking it down by price band. You can see that red explode on top, and that is over 20% of all homes, which is diluted by manufactured homes, mobile homes, townhomes, and condos, sold for over 20% of them sold for over $1 million. That's the largest single category of any price band in Snohomish County. That's the norm now. So that sucks. Why did that happen? In part because we're not building much in the way of homes. I'm really professional. This is single-family homes in Snohomish County. This is all that's left standing. This isn't that we built like 10 homes in 1943. It's just that there are only about 10 homes left from 1943 still standing in Snohomish County. So thanks to the hard work of the county assessor's office, I look at all the parcels and the year built date and the use code, single family, for everything in Snohomish County. Arlington is the next slide. So here's single family homes, but right here you can see 2023, this is where the data ends, is comparable to all the way back to 1982. 1982 is I have to go all the way back there to find a worse year for ownership, single family home production in Snohomish County. Now that's ameliorated a bit by other housing types. In green is manufactured homes, blue is middle density, that's townhomes, condominiums, duplex, or townhomes, common wall condos, detached condos, actual duplex, triplex, and so on. So your middle housing types, and then multifamily condos, which disappear after the year 2000. Who knows about condo liability law or has heard that before, right? That passed in 1999. That's the one case where you can see policy having a specific impact. Multifamily condos just disappear from the map in Snohomish County. So production is down. Let's look at the city. Oops. I think it's coming up in the next slide. The results here, so that's the county look, and then city by city, this is the net sale price for homes for 2000 to 2004 year end. And so we're still building a lot of homes, early 2000, right? 2000, we're still building a healthy amount of homes. We've got lots of stock to go around. Price doesn't do too much. This is the net change in sale price in that 5-year period. 2005 to 2009, prices still aren't doing much. The recession has started in 2009. You see some cities actually have a net negative for that 5-year period. 2010 to 14, the recession gets everybody else and prices drop almost universally, except for Edmonds, the lucky duckies. 2015 to 19, we come out of the recession, but production's in the toilet. And look at how much prices have grown. The next 5 years, in blue. So here's 15 years of sale price change that almost averages out to not too much. It's kind of manageable. And then here's the last 10 years that is just not manageable for a household to keep up with. And then here's 2025 partial, just so that you can see. Arlington is one of the few that has seen continued price increases in 2025. I can't explain it, like why is Arlington up and Marysville's down? Wait. Yeah, Marysville's up a little bit too, so that's new. What's going on? This is a change year. 2025 is going to be an inflection point of one kind or another. I'm not sure which way we're going, but clearly something's happening in 25. And if you want, this is again a busy slide. If you want to quote this, pick Arlington, 86% net price change, or pick your less favorite cities if you want to look at the net change over the last 25 years. And again, all in a PDF coming to you soon. Forgot to animate this. This is the city of Arlington. This is what has been built and is still standing in the city of Arlington. And this is kind of germane to your comprehensive plan and kind of your visioning for what the city is going to be in the future is, what do you want that little bump of late 1960s, early 1970s homes housing to be? As you go down the road in the next 10 years, what do you want those 1997 and onward homes to be as they start to get close to redevelopment potential or age? The city of Mount Lake Terrace is way, way back in like 1960. Like all of their housing was built in 1960. And so this is a much more pressing issue for Mount Lake Terrace, not as much so for Arlington, but it's an opportunity to think about what do we want the city to be, because this is what's going to be redeveloped in one way or another someday down the road, somewhere, somehow. And again, single family in orange, manufactured home in dark blue, I apologize for the color change, middle density in green, multifamily condos, a couple in purple. So a summary of ownership, trying to keep to my 20-minute time limit. Washington's a popular place to live. People really, really, really like to live here, and that's not going to change. Whether it's economics, climate, or something else, Washington's a great place to live. You can start your morning on the mountains, you can end your day on a boat in Puget Sound, and hit all points in between. Unit production is low after the recession. COVID and higher interest rates really put that in the ground in the last couple years. That's not something the city can control, but it's something that we are dealing with. And that's something to look for on the success or the implementation success of your comprehensive plan, housing goals, and policies. Prices are exceeding the buying power of all but 15% of the region's workforce. That's a slide yet to come. And like I said, 20% of all sales are for over $1 million. And sales are declining. And so that's, the point here is that sales are going down because people have nowhere to go to. If you owned your home before 2020, there's a really good chance you refinanced down to 3% interest rate or so. You cannot get that same interest rate today if you sell your house and buy somewhere else. Where would a senior want to go if they're looking at a $4,000 a month mortgage, right? Even if you can take some of your equity with you. It's a tough situation. That is partially why I think we are seeing such a decline in home sales, is people are wondering, where should I go? I can't beat where I'm at right now. Affordable options are low, mostly mobile home park homes and condos. That's 80% of everything that sold for below $400,000 last year. I'll skip past that. Trying to keep my time, I'm sorry. One challenge that we do have is that yesterday's first-time home buyers remain renters. Like if you're thinking about a 20-year-old, 25-year-old young couple, are they going to be able to make that jump into first-time home ownership in the present market? Okay, renting. In Snohomish County, back to the county picture, 2000 and 2013, rent actually went down by a smidgen, adjusted for inflation. 2022, it's risen by 71%. Since then, if you're paying attention, you know that it's going to come down by a smidgen. Oops, there we go. It came down by a bit in 2024 and 25. This is really holding steady versus inflation, not really declining. So this is January to December. I forgot to update this slide. So this is January to December for all of Snohomish County for different unit types, all units, studios down to threes. So this is what it looked like if you were apartment shopping on apartments.com in either of those months. This is the average of what you were going to find across the entire county. A point to make here is that the median house in Snohomish County, same loan terms I've been parroting or saying all night, is you would be looking at about $2,650 a month for that median home purchase. That would be your monthly mortgage. And I call that out because that's right about the break point with 3-bedroom renting today. Like 2014, 2024 3-bedroom rentals, like if you can afford it in 2024, you could probably have afforded the mortgage on the median house. That was 2014 wasn't that long ago, was it? I hope. But also, this is convenient because 81% of Snohomish County homeowners, as of 2022, bought their house in 2014 or earlier. The point here is if you're a homeowner that locked in your rate, so to speak, at $2,650 a month, you don't really feel the housing crisis. Like you're kind of, you locked in your rate. Like, all of this has happened after you purchase your home, and it's not affecting your day-to-day in obvious ways. You're not looking for another house, unless you're looking for another house, rather. And that's worth keeping in mind that 81% of voters in Snohomish County are saying, problem, what problem? Except in the abstract of my kids are struggling to find a place to live and the cost of groceries is going up and so on and so forth. But worth keeping in mind. Renting in Arlington, same approach. This is what we're looking at. Oh, geez, I forgot to update that this afternoon. I really apologize. I will correct that in the PDF when I send it out. Adjusting for inflation, this is true. Boy, the animations in this slide got all messed up. Adjusting for inflation, ignore the top table, just look at the bottom. Rents are lower today than they were in Arlington in 2022. So rents have gone down a smidgen. Arlington rents are at their lowest since 2022. Let's see. Lowest recent point was Arlington. I was making this morning. I apologize for the bumpiness. It's been a busy day. Basically, Arlington's rents are going back up. The lowest point in Arlington's rent was April of 2024. They're now higher. They're still lower than 2022, but you're back on the upward trend for the city of Arlington's rental stock. Let's see, except for 3-bedroom rentals, which are continuing to come down, and looking at actual advertised rents, 3-bedroom rentals are on the upswing in Arlington. Again, back to Economics 101 being right, when you have an oversupply, or at least not a scarcity, prices will start to come down. So frustratingly, Economics 101 was right. This is a lot of this is driven by supply and demand. In Arlington, the kind of break point between 3-bedroom renting, affordable renting, and ownership was 2016, 2017, where the average between those 2 years was about $2,300 a month in mortgage rates. So if you bought your home, or rather if you are renting a 3-bedroom apartment in Arlington today, there's a good chance that, 10 years ago, you could afford that mortgage for a house also in Arlington. And prices since then have just run away from your ability to achieve. That's the point here. And by the way, 76% of Arlington owners moved in 2014 or earlier. Let's see, cost burden is rising. This is a county snapshot. Just for time, I'm only looking at the county. It's largely the same story for the city of Arlington. In orange is the 5-year average. In blue is the 1-year average for the county. So in this way, we can kind of see where we're going. In orange is 2019 to 2023. In blue is just 2023 in isolation. And you can see this is, as that data gets added in, severe cost burden on the far right, paying more than half of your income to rent every single month is going up a lot. There's a 1 in 4 chance if you rent in Snohomish County that you pay more than half of your income to rent, your household's income to rent every month. There's a 1 in 2 chance that that number is over 30%, which is the federal definition of cost burden. 1 out of every 4 renters in Snohomish County is cost burdened. Excuse me, 1 out of every 4 is severely, 1 out of every 2 is cost burden. Excuse me. Am I running out of time?
I didn't hear what you said.
Okay. Yes. Cost burdened. Yes. So at 30%, the federal government says you're going to, depending on your household dynamics, like a young person, probably not in as tight financial circumstances like a senior with higher healthcare needs or paying for kids in college or try to save and things like that. You'll start at that 30% point is when you're going to start to see people making choices about healthcare, food, transit. Certainly saving is going to be off the table when more than 30% of your household's income goes exclusively to your housing costs. In this case, rent, renter's insurance, parking space, garbage, water, sewer, so on and so forth. Why? In part, production. Here's the county again. In green is your apartment units that are 5 to 50 units in the structure. This is the total number of units in a 5 to 50 unit configuration. You can see that's never really been the biggest game in town across Snohomish County. In purple, we're looking at 51 to 100 unit buildings, then your 100 to 200 unit buildings that really have an impact, 200 to 300 units, and then in beige is your 300 plus unit buildings. And you can see 2 things. First, the 80s were a banner decade for apartment production across Snohomish County. Since then, we really entered a down couple decades, except for 2 or 3 years in the late 90s, early 2000s. But that's when a lot of people formed their opinions about what housing growth looks like. Like I've had someone tell me, and I quote, this is a current sitting mayor whose name shall remain nameless, or shall not be named, Chris, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under for the last 3 years, but we're building like crazy. This is in 2016 or so. It's like, yes, but that's still not equal to the amount of apartments that were built in 1988. And because he formed his opinion in, the mid 90s or early 2000s. And, looking at longer scope of history, the last couple of years have just been normal across the entire county, right? That's one thing to look at. The other is I can lay interest rates on top of this, and the spikes correspond with low interest rates, and the gullies correspond with high interest rates. And what happened in 2023, 24, 22, 3, and 4, interest rates went back up, and apartment production is cut in half. Also, that's COVID. And COVID is mostly gone. Interest rates remain high. I have dim hopes for apartment production in the next couple of years. Something else, just a barrel of fun here. Here is Arlington. This should surprise nobody in the room. You see a huge amount of production in the city of Arlington specifically. And great. I mean, my hat is off to the city of Arlington for supporting that. Maybe it was teeth clenched support, but nevertheless, it has clearly had an impact on apartment rents in the city of Arlington. Let's see, renting summary. Rents have rose rapidly between 2014 to 2021, then they plateaued. Then they came down a little bit. Still, rents are higher, 44% higher than they were in the year 2013, way higher than household incomes are, and so there's still that delta that households are grappling with between the cost of rent and what they make as a household, and we're still trying to figure that out. That plateau is explained by that burst of production that I just covered in the last 2 slides, but that's ending. And so I have, like I said, dim hopes for future production in basically Western Washington. And a potential to the return of increasing rents. Where that goes, I don't know, but that's what I foresee. If money is a discriminating factor, we have to recognize that unequal access to money is based on different factors, whether it's gender, race, disability status, is something that we have to keep in mind. I'm not going to cover that for time in this presentation, but that is true, is that there is unequal access to money, to wages, based on certain demographic factors. That leads to downstream resources being oversubscribed. It's getting worse, not better. So let's look at that. In 2023, most current year that I have data for, this is all of the households in all of Snohomish County that would qualify as very low income. There were 86,993 of them by my estimate. It's pretty rough, but that's a pretty big number, so I'm not too concerned with being off by a couple percentage points. 86,993 households had a household size of 3 and made $61,650 a year or less. With those 2 measures, that describes 87,000 households. How much assistance was available for them? The Housing Authority of Snohomish County, that's me, can support about 6,000. That's between our 2,000 or so housing units and 4,000 or so housing choice vouchers. That's a Section 8, veterans assistance, veteran supportive housing, all those vouchers rolled into one. Everett Housing Authority can support another 3,800 or so. Other income restricted housing, that's like the Vantage in Mukilteo, H&N or Devco, as you might know them, cover another 12,000 units. And that's it. That's all the housing assistance that we have in Snohomish County. Only covers about 1 out of every 4 households that would otherwise qualify. So no matter how hard you qualify, there is a 3 out of 4 chance that you get nothing, simply because there's just nothing for you. So why is this happening? It's because, in part, look at the number of employees who make this wage. I forgot to animate this slide, so I'm a little off my game. There are 750,000 working people in the Seattle Metro, Snohomish, King, and Pierce County in 2024 that make the median wage for their current occupation is $57,000 a year or less. Now, they might have yet to make that. They might currently make it, or they might exceed that. They might be close to retirement income, like at the 90th percentile of wage for their occupation. But this is the mid-career income if you stick with your current job in the Seattle Metro. And there's 752,000 people that are making below $57,000 a year in the middle of their career. So remember the "you must be this tall to ride" line for different housing types, 197 for single-family homes, 162 for townhomes, on, and then not being cost burdened for apartments. You need to make $88,000 a year as a household to not be cost burdened on average in Snohomish County. So 9.7% of the Seattle Metro's workforce could afford to buy something somewhere in Snohomish County, townhome, condo, or single-family home. It might be in Stanwood, and you're driving to Seattle, but dang it, you can own something. If you cut that down just to single-family home, less than 2% of the region's workforce can afford to buy something in Snohomish County on a single income. Less than 2%. I know, it's stupid. It's very, very dumb. But a very small number of occupations make in the median over $190,000 a year. Renting, about 25% of the region's workforce can afford to rent, again, something somewhere in Snohomish County. It might be a studio in Stanwood, but dang it, you can rent it and then drive. But setting those aside, 75% of the region's workforce, over 1 million people, can do neither of those things. But Chris, I have been told, I think, and I quote, not from a currently sitting elected official, everyone comes out of college married. College and married? Okay, all right, let's think about that. Let's assume that doctor doesn't marry barista, right? A super lopsided household income profile, and people of approximate incomes will marry or cohabitate one way or another if they're only if they're of approximate income. So there's a lot of people that are making $57,000 a year or less that if they become roommates or go into the chapel and get married just so they can afford an apartment, ownership remains out of reach. That the bottom line for condominiums is 130 grand, 57,000 times 2 is not that, right? So you can rent affordably, combining your incomes, but you're never going to own, and that's the rent trap. And you're worried as a renter that, well, gosh, I've heard all of these horror stories of rent going up by hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, and I feel unsteady, and I'm going to be moving around looking for a better job that gives me some kind of security. And if that kind of is ringing a bell in your mind about the difficulty of hiring or retaining workers in this economy, I think this is it. This is the explanation for why, if your Chamber of Commerce is getting yelled at about, like, I can't attract anyone to this business, whatever it may be, it's because, or keep them there, it's because people are jumping looking for that stability because they're worried if they're stuck as renters. And renting is not a bad thing. I was a renter for over 10 years after I graduated from college foolishly in 2009 in the depths of the recession. I moved all over the place. Renting is great, but not when you're worried about your rent going up by hundreds of dollars a month every single time you renegotiate your lease, right? So let's look at Arlington's change in workforce by distance and direction, 2002 to 2022. How did the city's workforce change? Arlington, of course, is the center of the compass and the world, if not the universe. And so where did the workforce come from? How did that change between 2002 and 2022? From the north, northeast, east, southeast, blah, blah, blah. In blue is from under 10 miles. You can see that you lost workers that are coming from under 10 miles away to the north and the northeast, but you gained a lot of workers coming from the south, from under 10 miles away, 10 to 24 miles away, 25 to 50 miles away, and over 50 miles away. Over 50 miles away from Arlington in a straight line is Kent. I looked it up this afternoon when I should have been animating the other parts of my presentation. That's a long way. Now, some of those people might be taking like 2-day shifts. It might be firefighters coming in from far away and making that commute once every couple of days. It might be when I was coming back from a conference last week, the chief financial officer for a law firm who lives in Yakima but comes over to Seattle once every couple of weeks. Like, she might be in this data there. But it's also a lot of lower wage workers that are just looking for affordability because they can find an apartment in Kent or south. This is 50 miles or further. And the gas pump doesn't ask them, do you make 3 times this gas bill, like an apartment leasing agent would, right? The gas pump doesn't discriminate. This is a story repeated in almost every single city in Snohomish County. The growth, the explosive growth of over 50-mile away trips, in particular from the south, which just blows my mind. I expected more people to come from the north, like Mount Vernon or Bellingham or something, but a lot of people are moved to the south and then come all the way north to work. It's just ghastly. Like, who loves traffic on I-5? I don't love traffic on I-5. I sent Paul and Amy a message and Heather a message saying, oh my God, I'm stuck in traffic. I might not get there in time. Like, anyway, sorry. Looking at all cities, again, favorite city or least favorite city. This is in 2002 in gray, the percentage of the city's workforce that also lived in town. Marysville stands out, so let's pick on them at 31% or so of the daytime workforce in Marysville in 2002 lived in Marysville and also worked there. Fast forward to 2019 in orange, that percentage in Marysville drops to about 23%. We continue 2020, 21. Remember, this is COVID, and so this is kind of funky data, and I'm looking forward to getting 23, 24 in there. And then 2022. So again, you can see Arlington declines, has recovered a little bit. We'll see where that goes as we get into 23. And here's the net change from 2002 to 2022. The point here is that about 10% of the Snohomish County city's workforce, about 10% lives in the town in which they work across all cities. That's a tiny number. That's a lot of commuting. That's a lot of time driving instead of doing anything else except listening to podcasts or the radio, right? So, oh yeah, there's the 2002 average in green and 2022 city average in blue. Okay, I'm almost done, I promise. Conclusions, last slide. Drive till you qualify is a message that people got loud and clear, and so they did. And that's why the sale price for a single-family home in Arlington, Darrington, and Sultan is up by 80% in the last 2 decades, 2.5 decades, right? Mayor Rankin calls me a couple years ago and says, Chris, what the hell is happening? Why are houses so expensive in Darrington? Because people finally drove until they qualified, and that was Darrington. It went from $100,000 inflation adjusted to just under $400 this year. 2025 is a change year for ownership. Watch the impact of interest rates closely. 2025 is an interesting one. I would be a fool to try and prognosticate any further. Rental housing, however, appears to be back on the upswing, especially as we are building fewer apartment units and the market absorbs those at about 20 to 30 units a month. Absorption rate for new apartments, you know, we're working through those vacancies. I can watch apartment listings coming down. Housing unaffordability has its effects society-wide. It affects households, the affected households, of course, that are struggling, but also think about traffic, like I mentioned, economy, like I mentioned, services, both commercial services and human services, healthcare services. You know, I asked, my wife was most upset with me when I asked the OB when she was busy delivering our second child, hey, where do the OBs come from in the department down in Bellevue? Oh, you know, Lake Stevens or further north. Like, well, what happens if it snows? Like, what happens if there's an earthquake? Like, what happens if, you know, something happens? Like, that's a long drive. Like, you can't make it through that snow. It's like, yeah, I hope you don't have a baby that day, right? I mean, your nurses are coming from further and further and further away. Another not apocryphal story, a story from South County Fire is firefighters for South Snohomish County fly in from Utah, Montana, and Minneapolis. That is from a captain at South County Fire. Like, that's reality. When the earthquake happens, they will not be flying in to help their neighbors, right? Community resilience is something that is being affected by housing unaffordability. Or, okay, let's set that aside. Let's try to make parents more engaged in their child's lives. Like, I want more parents to volunteer for the youth softball team at the local school or whatever. You can't do that when you're driving 50 miles to and from work. If you even show up on time, you have no gas left in your personal tank to do that, right? Because you're just wiped out from having so much fun sitting in traffic. Like, housing unaffordability is the only thing that explains that sort of behavior. And it has impacts, right? Your policy to housing doesn't make people better parents, but it gives your efforts to help people be better parents, gives it more success. It's not going to work when they're not home. What does housing unaffordability not affect? Like, it doesn't make fentanyl less lethal or parents better people, but housing, if people have a stable house, your interventions in fentanyl use might have more impact, right? It might be more successful. So it's not a silver bullet, but it supports a lot of things. This is all really grim. There's a reason that my coworkers taped a rain cloud on my desk at work, because I basically float over to someone's desk and like poop all over their day and then float away somewhere else. But it's opportunity, right? I'm often pigeonholed as like, Chris, it's Chris, the sad data guy, which is true, but also this is opportunity. If we want traffic to be better, let's put housing close to where people want to work, right? That's a good thing. That will, and in mass, like one building doesn't solve the problem, but at scale, that starts to have impacts, right? And so this is opportunity. It's city opportunity, it's regional opportunity, and as grim as this is, I hope that you view it as this is an opportunity to realize good things in our community. And also, I hope that this is something that you can share with members of the public, for those in the audience, those watching from home, because this is really, it's not just the council's issue, it's something that you all live day to day. And that is the most important thing to me, is getting the public to understand how this is an issue that is affecting them. Even if you bought before 2010, 2014, and feel like I'm not affected, you are. And so let's solve this together. So thank you very much. I'll stick around for questions. Sorry for going over time.
Great, thank you, Chris. Any questions?
You're too polite to just get the hook.
No, none, oh, Michelle?
So was there data on people that leave Washington State to buy a house somewhere else? You don't need to see it now, but I'm just.
I have it, yes.
You do?
Yep, it does exist.
Right.
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I feel like you hear about people that leave,
Yep,
so they buy in another state, right? So,
yep.
yeah,
I
that'd be cool
can,
to see that.
I can look at, there's a couple different ways that the question is, where did you live last year? And for the, like, people that last year reported that they lived in Arlington or Snohomish County and now report they live somewhere else between the surveys. And I can look at that by age, income, and educational attainment at a minimum. So I'll send all three.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Great. Yvonne?
Do you have, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have,
I should have sat over there. ADUs and like how that's helping at any point. Do you see any marker there?
That is a hard one. The assessor is still figuring out how to really capture accessory dwelling units. They are in the production slide, the bar chart of single family, mixed use, and ADUs. That's where ADUs are, is in that middle density category. But I don't think that's perfect yet. Overall, I think ADUs are helpful, but probably not going to be the solution. They won't hurt, but I wouldn't put all my chips on ADUs, let me put it that way. So that might be also something to talk to Amy. I'm kind of foisting work off on Amy, asking Amy about permitting activity with ADUs and things like that. And I think watch that closely, because cities have just this year updated their ADU codes because of House Bill 1337. And so we may see more activity, but it's certainly something to watch closely. Not sure if that's exactly the answer you're looking for.
That helps.
Okay.
I have another question.
Good. Okay.
And then, did somebody else have a question too? Sorry, did I just jump? Okay. When you were looking at the numbers of the plus 50 miles, how, does any of that questionnaire include like whether or not they're actually working from home with the change in COVID and a lot of us being able to work from home? It is easier to go somewhere where I'm more affordable, but I can make more money over here, but I'm working from home.
Right. Let me go research that and get back to you. Because for one set of data, I know the answer. I'm not sure if that's the same set of data here. So I talked with Employment Security, and they gave one answer, and I'm not sure if this is the same data set that we're talking about. So let me go research that and figure it out. That being said, let me back up really quick. Click, 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 click. Oh, wait, here we go. That can't be the entirety of the answer, because you see 2019. I picked 2019 on purpose to try and get out of that conflation or the confounding variable of COVID and working from home. So you look at 2019, and already that drop is pretty significant for Arlington, down from 15 to about 12% or so. So it might, I just don't know if it's in there. I wouldn't hang my hat on that being like the explanation though. So. There is data, of course there's data, on households and their method of transportation to work, car, bus, rideshare, and then work from home is in there. And you can really see work from home increase in the COVID years. So it's captured. I'm just not sure if that data set accounted for it or not. Sorry, I don't have a better answer at the top of my head.
Okay.
Of course.
Rob?
So what's your ideas on making housing more affordable then? Is it build more units or rezones, or what are some of your thoughts? Sorry, it's a loaded question.
No, that's fine. I think if I were to give a single sentence answer, it would be support housing for different ages and life stages. Ask Amy, ask Paul, where are the starter homes of today or tomorrow getting built in the city of Arlington? Where are the downsize homes for seniors that don't want to rattle around like a pebble in a can, 4 bedrooms and just the 1 or 2 of them? Where are those housing units in Arlington or nearby? And putting that concept into practice in implementation of your comprehensive plan, again, trying to give a short answer, and that's it, is look for those starter and ender homes, the starter or downsize homes for new households and seniors that might seek to downsize. And be patient. This is a large ship to turn. It's also one that requires national intervention. It requires Congress to reinvest in the Midwest and make it economically appealing to stay there. Because right now, a lot of people are moving from Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri to Washington State because there's economic opportunity. It's just offset by the cost of housing. This is something that no one state no one city, certainly no county or state can solve. But for Arlington's purposes, I would say look for the variety of housing types and try to support those.
Heather?
Thanks, Don. What's your definition of a starter home? Is that a 211 or a 322? How small?
I think here's a bit of a dodge, and then I'll answer your question. Every city can be different, and that answer is, for Arlington, is different than any other city. And that's what you guys get to decide, is what is the right starter home for the city of Arlington, for what the city is and wants to be in the future. That being said, I'd say probably a 2-bed. I bought a townhome in 2016. It was a 2-bedroom townhome, and managed to survive COVID with a 2-year-old in there. My hair started going gray then, or I started losing more hair then, but we did it, right? A 2-bedroom home with a family and 1 child, like that kind of worked. And a little itty bitty teeny tiny patch of grass in the back, like that kind of makes sense. And that's not, maybe set that as your objective, but I don't want to speak for Arlington on what is the right thing for you. So, of course.
Good, thank you. Any others? Okay, thank you, Chris.
PDF coming at you, and I'll try to get all your questions answered post-haste. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ooh, get off the stage.
Okay, we'll move on to our first workshop item, the resolution setting the 2026 property tax levy. Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. This goes back to earlier this month at the retreat when we were talking about the 2026 budget. Part of our 2026 budget is a property tax levy increase of 1%. It's that time of the year where we have to discuss that and take action on it. It is time sensitive, so I'm here tonight to answer any questions that council may have.
Great. Any questions? Rob?
Could you remind me what that equates to on the average house bottom line?
Well, I didn't calculate that, but I can figure that out for you and send it to you. I'll send it out to all the council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, none seen. Thank you, Paul. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, resolution approving the 2026 annual docket. Amy?
Good evening, Mayor Vanny and members of council. So hopefully you remember in July we changed the docketing system to not be in January. So this is our first year attempt of having it go in August, and so that's why you're seeing it a little bit earlier. The docket is our work plan for the year, so just keep in mind that you're not approving any of the items. They will all come back to you in 2026. So Not sure you want me to read all of them after Chris's presentation, so I'll try to make it very quick. So we have one rezone from the airport. That's item number 1. I'm not sure if this is going to go through. We put it on the docket in case we can do it. They have to still check with the FAA. And so they're looking at taking some of the land that you can see in orange on the map and changing it to light industrial. So the orange is right now airfield, and there's no airfield access. So they're looking at taking it from airfield to light industrial to hopefully attract some businesses, because right now we are not, my department is not allowing certain businesses to go on the airport because it's an airfield and not light industrial. And then we kind of have a lot of cleanup items. Okay, I'm just going to ask the question. I have 18 items. Would you like me to go through all of them? I'm more than happy to. I just don't know what you are wanting, or I can just kind of go, like item 2 is like revolving around a House bill or Senate bill. Number 3, we have some just definitions we need to get caught up on. 4, just cleanup. Item number 5 is around a couple House bills and some Senate bills. Item number 6, we want to add an administrative interpretation for in-between codes, like if for example, the state, this one's kind of tricky, so I can explain what this one is. So say the state adopts something and we have like 3 months to get it in place, we can do an interpretation, take on those, put that on our website, advertise that we're following those regulations while we work out actual code. And then, so it gives us more time to get that done. Item 7 is part of the code enforcement that I'm going to be working on, so that some things in that chapter will change. Item number 8 is we just have some outdated information that we've changed in other parts of the code that need to be updated. Number 9, we have a couple Senate bills, and then we had a House bill to get into our permitted use table. Item 10 is around a Senate bill we have one change to unit lot subdivisions, and then we have some existing building use, child care centers. So a lot of House bills, Senate bills. Item 11, we're kind of re-going over the design and how the design review fits into we've now had a year of permitting under tighter timelines. So we're going to be re-examining our design review board and seeing what works, what doesn't work. Item 12 is our development design standards. I don't have anything in my head that we're going to be changing, but we did get direction from the state that every item that we require for design has to be clear and concise. So we're basically just going to be going through what we currently have, how do we make this, so we're not planning on changing our design standards, just changing the wording to make sure that they're clear and concise. Item 13 is, there's some stuff from a Senate bill for shared streets, and then we want to have that section match the transportation master plan when it gets completed. Item 14, I don't know, I found this weird Senate bill, so we're going to change it. It's for cannabis retail signage information. Item 15 goes back to the middle housing bill, which is the House Bill 1110. We can't treat any middle housing different than we treat a single family, and right now we do. So we're going to be revising landscaping. Item 16 goes to the transportation master plan when we get new impact fees. So those will be later in the year, apparently. Number 17, they had some changes to the boundary review board per House bill, so we're going to change that in our annexation. And then item 18, I want to look at, not sure where this analysis will go, but I wanted it in our docket. So we're going to do a staff analysis, at least at first, and then compare some other cities and potentially raising our categorical exemption for SEPA to make permits go. Because of our shortened timeline, we still have very, very low exemptions. So people are doing SEPA every project, where a lot of cities, you can go up to 200 or 300 units right now and not have SEPA, but we do. So we're just going to analyze that and see what makes sense. We can pick anything between the minimum and the maximum. So we don't have to go max, but just kind of see where we fall.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is it.
Good. Any questions, Yvonne?
I think Rob had a question in the middle of that, though.
no.
You're good? Okay. Going to item 10,
Yes.
and if it's offline, that's fine too, but just curious about the new section for childcare center in existing buildings.
Yes.
Is that just to make it easier for them to come in and?
Yeah, there's
make it-
no, basically, there's no land use, no improvements basically are required. They can just go into an existing building with a business license.
As a childcare center?
Yep. There's also another child care center one that we allow it in all, this might be with this one too. This is for existing buildings, but there's another section or another bill that requires them in all zones except for industrial.
And it doesn't change as a child center?
So like a
There's
child
not like
center,
a requirement, like sprinkler system requirement or changes in how they're supposed to have open
would have-
spaces for, like, it doesn't change anything like that?
it would have to meet all those regulations still.
But does it make it harder or easier?
It should make it easier still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Heather?
Thanks, Don. So Amy, this is a lot, 18 things you're going to investigate in the next year. As you are writing the actual copy, when do we see it? I mean, I'm fine with approving this as a docket, great, have a great year. But if we're curious about item 10 and childcare, when do we get to read your proposed copy? That's just an example.
So there's a lot of steps still. So first we have to write it. It goes to the Department of Commerce for 60-day review. We have SEPA, we have Planning Commission, and then it usually comes to you guys. So usually around the time of Department of Commerce, when I send it, I would say most of them are 100% complete how we want it or how we're envisioning it. But then there's also subject to Planning Commission and council changes to that.
Okay.
So I would say most of the time it's about 90%. So when I send that, technically you could review it, but I don't currently send it out to anyone right now. So basically a Planning Commission kind of stage. So a month before it comes to you, I have not. So that is what we're doing over the next, this is why I wanted the docket the way that it is right now. So over the next 2 months, we're going to be sitting down and saying, okay, which one, are there like 4 or 5 that we can just knock off that are pretty easy? And then which ones are going to take the time and we're actually going to do the schedule. This is in my next item later in the meeting, but we are getting a new planner on Monday. So I'm hoping that we can get this work pushed out where I'm not, you guys are going to see new people coming to council this year. So it won't just be me. So they're going to get their items and be able to come. And so I'll still be overseeing it, but I'm going to let them kind of pick which ones they want to work on that they're more passionate about.
Okay, sounds great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, none seen. Thank you, Amy. Okay, we'll move on to item 3, the contract with American Ramp Company for Jensen Pump Track. Jim Kelly.
Thank you very much, Mayor Vanny and council members. This item before you is for the City of Arlington, a request for the City of Arlington to take over the design and construction of a project that was started by the Arlington Rotary. The Arlington Rotary, over the past several years, they've been working and collecting funds to construct a pump track over at Jensen Park Pump Track. It's in our park comprehensive plan. They have secured $238,000. They've selected a very good pump track construction company, design and construction company, American Ramp Company, and they've brought the design to about 40%. It is now time to final design the project and to construct it. American Ramp Company is the designer and the builder. So since it's on city property, since the city went out and got public funds through a REAP 2 grant through Snohomish County, thank you, Nate Nearing, it's best that this project design and construction be completed by the city. So this is a request to enter into a contract with the American Ramp Company. They are under a cooperative purchasing agreement through Sourcewell. And the funding from this will come from various sources, $238,000 from the Arlington Rotary, Snohomish County REIT 2 funds. We have a $100,000 grant for that. And Amazon has donated $150,000 for this project. Now, that comes to $488,099. And the design you have in your packet is for a 2-ramp park, one being a more advanced senior ramp and the other one being a smaller ramp for kids to learn how to ride a pump track. We currently only have funding to build the 1 ramp. We're going to design 2, and we also have other funding requests out there that we're hoping at the end of November, we will find out if we did get sufficient funding for the other ramp. And if we did, I will be back to you asking to amend the contract.
Any questions? Heather?
Can you point on the picture to where the outer ramp is that's getting funded? I mean, I just see one big oval. Which part are we moving full speed ahead on?
If you take a look at the overall large map,
Yeah.
you'll see the small ramp over on the left-hand side, the large ramp on the right side. The small ramp is almost just an oval.
And that's the one that has to wait?
That's the one that has
Okay.
to wait, yes.
So it's the more detailed-looking one that we'll be going ahead on?
Yeah.
And then when we're ready for the second phase, it's just seamless? They just start building onto it?
They'll be designing. So right now, they're going to design the whole ramp system, storm drainage, and for the larger project.
The whole thing?
And we'll go into construction, just in case we don't get the funding, so we have to build the smaller ramp later. All the underground work that needs to support this, we'll put it in place.
This is very cool.
Alicia?
Yes, that was my question, the 31,500, that's for both phase 1 and phase 2 design?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? None seen. Thank you, Jim. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, amendment number 2 to the Rock Project Management Contract. Again, Jim.
Thank you very much again, Mayor Vanny and council members. This year, not all of our projects went concurrently as planned. We had 211th, followed by 74th, and now Division of Broadway. While there has been some overlap, we wanted to have one construction manager on site to manage all 3 of those projects concurrently. That didn't happen. Division of Broadway is going longer than anticipated, so I would like to extend the construction inspector's duration out here by another 26 days as included in their fee for construction management. The gentleman's name is Josh. He's been doing a great job.
Great. Any questions? No, none seen. Thank you, Jim. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, the Utilities and Transportation Quarterly Report. Jim.
This is what everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah.
So let me first start by saying Chris Wallace is over in Europe. She went to Denmark with her husband and also Sam Lowe and a lot of other people for a trip over there. And she then took a trip down to Paris, and she was on the bullet train, and she texted me, "Did you proofread the quarterly report?" So as we go through this, we're going to find there are some errors and omissions in the report. And I blame that on Chris, so for taking a vacation. So anyway, just going with the staffing updates, we're essentially up to staff. We're missing one person. We have a water treatment plant operator, one position that we have been advertised. We are doing a background check on the gentleman, but I don't think there's going to be a problem, so he'll be on board. Within the past couple of weeks, we did have one of our wastewater collection operators accept the job in Marysville, so we will have to open up that position and start advertising for him. Utility projects that we have currently going on, our MBR program. We finally have the new Kubota program up and running. And it's taken a long time to get it done, but it's now working, which now lets us move over and do the blower installation, complete the blower installation. The 640 booster pump station, the station itself is up and running. The last item of construction is to put the PRV vault. That's taken a long time as we could not find a home for the PRV vault. The PUD, based on the initial designs, they changed their mind and they didn't want our vault put so close to the master meter where they bring water to the city. But as we tried and tried and tried to find a location, we couldn't. So they said, okay, you can put it next to the master meter. So, so now we're trying to reschedule and restart that project. Prairie Creek BNSF, that project we're looking to start in January, start the construction. The water treatment plant expansion project is moving forward. We should have the 90% drawings in November. We applied for, the city applied for and received a $10 million low-interest loan from Public Works Trust Fund. This was a competitive grant process. Over $390 million worth of grant applications were submitted, 130 million were funded. We were in sort of the top rank, and also we applied for and received the maximum amount of funding that we could get, $10 million. We're still in the process of finalizing the design drawings, the shop drawings from AWC Water for the filters. Once those are finalized, we'll be able to enter into contract with them, but again, they're up in Canada. And I guess things aren't going good with the city in Canada right now, so we'll see how much our price is going to go up on that. With the United States and Canada on tariffs isn't going very good right now, so our price might go up even more. Haller North, the city's been looking for a alternative water source in north of the Stillaguamish River. We call it Haller North. We have one on the south bank of the Haller River, of the Stillaguamish River. We want to put one on the north side. After negotiating with the property owner for about 14, 15 months, we have settled on an agreement with the property owner. That price is $1 million. It's for 5 properties, just a little bit under 30 acres. He didn't want to break them up and sell them individually, so it has a value of $1.2 million, a little bit over $1.2 million, and he agreed to sell it for $1 million after we went back and forth with him. It's been a long negotiation, as he's out of Singapore and he also works in Australia, so it's either negotiating late or very early in the morning. So, so now we're doing our phase 1 on that project before we move forward with entering into a purchase and sale agreement. The 211th project is completed. Final cost for that project is $5,650,000. We have closed out our TIB grant on that project. The 2025 UPP project is getting ready to go through closeout. It is completed except for some minor issues such as iron raising. We're going to put together a punch list on that one. 74th Avenue Trail, likewise, it is completed except for the long lead items, which includes street amenities, railing, and street lights. Broadway and Division rehabilitation, phase 1 and phase 2 are completed. They've combined, as you can see where their milling is, they combined phase 3 and 4. They're doing it at one time. And we were scheduled to do all paving this week. However, we might get pushed out till next week because of the rain. 188 and Smoky Point Boulevard, we're just going through submittals. We have a lot of projects in design, so all of those are going on simultaneously. Active grants. The big ones are the Public Works. Number 1 is the Public Works Trust Fund, $10 million. The cemetery grant, we do have our new sign, our wayfinding sign in. We're waiting until Chris gets back, and then we're going to have the crew install it. And then if we go to the second number 1, which is just below 13, you'll see we have a coordinated pollution prevention recycling grant that we just executed, as well as an ecology stormwater capacity grant. So those two are in the works. We applied for a grant to construct the roundabout at SR 531 and Smoky Point Boulevard. We will find out if we get that grant in November, right around Thanksgiving. That is when the trust board meets again. Cemetery operations, we're ready to go out to bid for the concrete slab so we can set our first columbarium on it. Tina Willett, she's a gem. She's our cemetery volunteer coordinator. She's the amount of people she can get work at the cemetery and just help out and make that cemetery so beautiful. She is a true asset to the city. The city's continuing to work on our pre-treatment program. We are an industrial facility, industrial city, heavy industrial city, so we have to make sure that the waste discharges coming from the industries are treated, pre-treated, before we accept them at the wastewater treatment plant. One of the GIS activities, one of the things that the GIS did over the past quarter is they created a portal for traffic safety. I wanted to present it here, but I didn't have my computer ready. It's very interesting portal because it highlights all the locations in Arlington where we've had accidents over the past 5 years, from 2019 through 2024. The 2025 data will be all uploaded at the end of the year, but it's amazing that you take a look at the top 6, the top 6 accident locations are all state routes. The city is
531.
It is. It's not city routes. So it's very interesting. I know Katie Heim has opened it up to the mayor and to Paul, and she's going to hopefully be able to open it up and let all the council members take a look at that data. And that is a quick version. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions? Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with next item, Community and Economic Development Quarterly Report. Amy.
Thank you again. Mine will be a little quicker, even though we're not less busy. So I did give you a little bit more data this time about some projects. I'm not going through those, but just, so this is our third quarter report. So from July to September, I believe. Yes, July to September. So we did hire and then ended employment with a planner in July, August. This is kind of going into the fourth quarter, but we did re-advertise the position, which will be filled on Monday. So we are super excited to get someone on board and helping out with that. And then still working on some new programs. So this is the same from the last time with the code enforcement and then the implementation of Civic Plus. And I'm not going to read all the active development projects. They are on our map. These are ones that you can actually see under construction right now. So we do have some that are permitted that haven't started to be built yet. I did not include those. So these are ones that you can drive around. I tried to include the address, so if you want to go and look at them, all of these, you should be able to see something happening on the site. And then something new that I put on is the next item, which is the current land use or civil permits that we have under review. So they've not been issued yet, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we are currently reviewing that will be coming up, and then will be transferred to hopefully the active development projects. So I did not put in a lot of detail, just the type of permits we're doing, because since we're still in review, things could change. So if you want more information about any of these permits, we're more than happy to get them to you. And then our general information meetings, we only had 4 over the summer, or in the last 3 months, kind of weird there. And then we go into applied. So this is kind of new too. I'm trying to get my groove on the quarterly report. So last month, I think I just did the issued building permits, but I did it incorrectly. So I'm letting you know that. I just took a search of issued permits, but that didn't really account for everything. So it could have been issued and closed out within the 3 months, and I was only capturing the issued of the day I ran the report. So this is issued from anything that was issued applied for from July to September. And then, so some of the permits, so the total permits that we had applied for building was 158, and then you have the types down below. So some of the permits that are in that 158 are also in the 119, because some of them were issued and some of them were not. So I'm trying to give you just some more data to look at. And then our code enforcement cases went 42 total. Some of these were police as well, so you can see that on the next one. I tried to, the first item is PD, so I put PD like parking violations because we do get those through our system. So I just wanted to give Angie some credit on that too, because she's doing a lot of the, she is doing all the violations that come through that way. And then our current, both of these contracts are complete. So I'll be bringing Smoky Point Phase 2. I don't have that final closeout yet. So hopefully we can get that by the end of the year. And then we are closing out our contract with Makers for Island Crossing Subway Plan ends on October 31st, which you guys passed. And so we're just trying to wait for we're hoping we can get their last invoice by the end of October, and then that will be closed out with finance. And then the last item is just, or the last bullet points are what to expect for the next 3 months, basically, coming to you. I do have one change here. The fire sprinklers we did not bring tonight for tomorrow, or for the November 3rd, so that'll get moved to November 10th and 17th. And I think that's all we have on your agenda for the rest of the year.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Any questions? Heather?
Amy, of the 158, okay, they all applied, and 119 have been permitted. The difference, pulled them back or got denied or just haven't moved forward yet? What's?
They're either still in review, so it's something that was applied could have been last week. So something that I pulled that was applied could have been in the last couple of weeks. We're not through the review yet. There were a couple withdrawn, a very few. We don't usually deny any building permits, very few.
It just means they didn't make it to the finish line yet?
Yet.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Jan?
Yeah, I had two questions, just to verify where they were on the active development. On Amber Grove, it's on 197th and 74th Avenue. Is that Arlington Valley Road?
Yes.
Okay, because that's been in process for a lot of years. The next one, the Harmony at Arlington, it's northwest of the 204th and State Highway 9. That's where Bartels was and no longer, so.
It's north of Bartels.
Behind it.
In the vacant parcel
This
north
side.
of Bartels.
You see the ground?
Okay, behind
Yeah, behind.
Bartels. Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
And then just so everyone knows, on the Amber Grove, it's south of Hagen's. Kind of, there's a house between, but that's where it's going, is next to Highway 9, south of Hagen. So it's between, you won't be able to see it from Arlington Valley Road, you'll be able to see it from 9.
Yeah.
Yep, just wanted to make sure that was
Any
clear
other
since you had a
questions?
question.
Any other questions? Okay, none? Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Paul, do you have any?
Nothing else tonight.
The only thing I've got is what a turnout for Saturday downtown for the Halloween trick or treat. There was kids everywhere, but it was a blast. There was, lots of kids at the pumpkin roll down the hill. Had to keep telling them not to run and chase their pumpkins because they'd do the barrel roll themselves down the hill. But no, it was a good time. It was a good time. Okay, any comments or reports from council members? None seen? Okay. I'd like to open it up this time for public comment for members of the public who wish to speak to the council. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes and state your name and address. Looks like we have one signed up, Heidi Defenderfer. You step up to the council.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Vanny and members of the council. My name is Dr. Heidi Diefendorfer. I'm here this evening to respectfully request that the City Council send a formal communication to the Arlington Public Schools Board of Directors. I've written this, I sent it to you by email this afternoon, and I have copies here to hand around after this. This is in regard to the purchase and sale agreement with Miles Sand and Gravel Company for the pasture land located at 9102 State Route 530 Northeast. This is just about a half mile from Arlington city limits toward the park, toward Darrington, where the North and South Forks rivers join. This proposed gravel mine and concrete batch plant have been under review by Snohomish County for 4 years, and they've generated substantial public opposition. The concerns raised are not just environmental. They represent significant fiscal and infrastructure risks to the city of Arlington and your taxpayers. Your Public Works Department has testified regarding the potential for contamination of the city's water supply from the Stillaguamish River. The construction of a water treatment plant to address such contamination would represent a multi-million-dollar liability, a burden that would fall on Arlington taxpayers for generations. The school district retains the contractual right to withdraw from this agreement by reimbursing Miles Sand and Gravel for permit expenses up to $400,000. While this is a substantial sum, it is minimal compared to the long-term costs that this industrial operation would impose on your constituents and municipal infrastructure. I prepared the draft memorandum for the council's consideration. It's just a sample. It requests a meeting with the school board to discuss contract withdrawal and to establish a committee to explore alternative revenue solutions that do not compromise Arlington's water resources. The contract deadline of December 2nd, 2025 creates urgency for municipal leadership to engage on this matter now. I would appreciate it if you could please provide a response at next week's meeting or before. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. Consent agenda items.
Item number 1 is going to come back in a public hearing,
Yeah,
so we'll have to keep that one.
keep that one. Do we need to keep 1 through 4, or is there any that we
The
could-
docket should be on, the rest of them could,
can fall off?
the docket should probably be on new business.
Okay. So items 1,
3, 4,
and
5,
2, leave them on, but then put the others on the consent agenda? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that would be a
that's-
choice.
Does that sound good to
Council
everybody?
assembly.
Items 1 and 2 will stay on for next week's meeting. Items 3 and 4 will move off to the consent agenda.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll find some other things to.
Okay. Okay, I think that is all we have.
So move to adjourn?
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.